My name is Clara, and I've often thought about marriage. It seemed like such a big and important decision. You know, it wasn't like choosing what to have for breakfast or which shoes to wear for the day. This was a choice about who you'd spend all your tomorrows with. I saw many married people. Some looked really happy, holding hands as they walked down the street. Others seemed a bit tired, like they were carrying something heavy. I wondered what made the difference. I wanted to be one of the happy ones, the kind who still smiled at her husband even after many, many years had passed by. I would sit on my porch swing and watch the world go by. I saw Mr. and Mrs. Henderson next door. He always brought her a flower from his garden every morning. She always saved him the best piece of her apple pie. It was a small thing, a simple thing, but it seemed so full of love. That was the kind of marriage I dreamed about. It wasn't about big, fancy houses or expensive cars. It was about the little, everyday moments of kindness. It was about knowing someone was thinking of you, and you were thinking of them too. It was a quiet and comfortable sort of love. I sometimes made lists in my head about what I wanted in a husband. He should be kind, of course. He should also be honest, because a house built on lies would surely fall down. A good sense of humor was important too. He didn't need to be the strongest or the smartest man in the world. He just needed to have a good and true heart. Someone I could talk to about anything, from the silly to the serious. My friends were all getting married. One friend married a man because he was very handsome. Another married a man because he had a very good job and a lot of money. I was happy for them, truly. But I knew those things were not enough for me. A handsome face could grow old, money could be lost. But a kind heart, a gentle spirit, and a friend to talk to, those things were treasures. Those were the things that would last a lifetime. I decided I would wait patiently for a man who had those treasures to share with me. So I started to look more closely at the people I met. It was like I had special glasses on that helped me see what was truly important. One day, a man named Robert asked me to go for a walk. He was very charming and told wonderful stories that made me laugh. He talked a lot about his big plans for the future and all the amazing things he was going to do. He was exciting, and for a little while, I was caught up in his energy. He seemed to have everything figured out, and he was very confident in himself and his abilities to succeed. But then, I noticed something. As we walked, a small dog ran up to us, wagging its tail. Robert shooed it away with an annoyed look on his face. Later, when we stopped for a coffee, he was quite rude to the waitress because she was a little slow. He didn't say please or thank you. These were small things, but my heart felt a little prickle of disappointment. His stories were grand, but his actions were not so kind. I realized that how a person treats strangers and animals tells you a lot about who they really are inside. A few weeks later, I met another man named David at a town picnic. He was quiet and a little shy. He didn't tell grand stories like Robert did. Instead, he asked me questions about my day and about my dreams. He listened, really listened, to my answers. He had a gentle smile that made me feel calm and safe. He wasn't trying to impress me with fancy words or big promises. He was just being himself, a steady and thoughtful person who seemed genuinely interested in getting to know me for who I was, not for who he wanted me to be. During the picnic, an elderly woman dropped her basket of fruit. Apples and oranges rolled everywhere across the grass. Before I could even move, David was on his feet, helping her gather them all up. He didn't do it for attention. In fact, he seemed a little embarrassed when she thanked him so much. He just did it because it was the right thing to do. He saw someone needed help, and he helped. It was a simple act of kindness, the kind of thing Mr. Henderson did for his wife. My heart felt warm watching him. The next few months were a time of thinking and feeling. Both Robert and David were interested in me. Robert would call and suggest exciting dates, like going to a concert in the city or a fancy dinner. Being with him was like being in a movie. It was full of bright lights and loud music. He made me feel special, like I was the star of his show. But sometimes after our dates, I would come home feeling empty. It was fun, but it felt like we were playing a part. I didn't feel like I could just be plain old Clara with him. David's idea of a date was very different. He would suggest a walk in the park or helping him work in his small vegetable garden. We would talk for hours while pulling weeds or planting seeds. He told me about his job as a teacher and how much he loved helping children learn to read. He asked me about my work at the library and remembered the names of my favorite books. With David, I never felt like I had to pretend. I could be quiet if I wanted to, or I could talk about silly things, and he always seemed to understand and accept me. I started to feel confused. A part of me was drawn to Robert's exciting world. It was glamorous and new. My friends thought he was wonderful. "He's so successful, Clara," they would say. "He'll give you such an interesting life." I worried that maybe they were right. Maybe a life with David would be too quiet, too simple. Was a gentle heart enough? Would I get bored? These doubts crept into my mind late at night, making it hard to sleep. I was afraid of making the wrong choice and regretting it for the rest of my life. One evening, I was feeling particularly worried. I sat on my porch swing, going over everything in my head. Robert was like a firework, bright and loud and beautiful for a moment. David was like a candle, steady and warm, giving a constant, gentle light. A firework is thrilling to watch, but you can't warm your hands by it. You can't read a book by its light. A candle, however, can light up a dark room. It can keep you warm and safe through the night. It was a simple thought, but it made everything feel much clearer. The next time Robert called, I politely told him that I didn't think we were a good match. He was surprised and a little bit angry. He couldn't understand why I would choose a simple life over the exciting one he offered. His reaction made me feel sad for him, but it also made me sure that I had made the right decision. He was focused on what things looked like on the outside. I was focused on how things felt on the inside. We wanted different kinds of happiness, and that was okay. I wished him well and felt a sense of peace wash over me. A few days later, I went to find David. He was in his garden, patiently watering his tomato plants. I walked over and just stood there for a moment, watching him. He looked up and gave me that same gentle, kind smile that I'd come to love so much. He didn't say anything. He just waited. I told him that I had been doing a lot of thinking about my future. I told him that I didn't need big adventures or fancy things. I just wanted a life filled with kindness, laughter, and a true friend by my side. David put down his watering can and took my hands in his. His hands were warm and a little bit rough from working in the soil. They felt strong and steady. He looked right into my eyes and said, "Clara, that's all I want too." In that moment, all my doubts and worries disappeared completely. My heart felt so full and so happy, like a bird taking flight on a clear spring morning. I knew, without any question, that I was standing in front of the man I was going to marry. It wasn't a complicated decision after all. It was the simplest one in the world. And so, my search was over. I had found my treasure. It wasn't gold or jewels, but something far more precious. I had found a kind and honest man who loved me for exactly who I was. I learned that marriage isn't about finding the most exciting person, but about finding the person you can build a quiet, happy, everyday life with. It's about finding the person who helps you pick up the spilled apples, who listens to your stories, and whose hand you want to hold for all of your tomorrows. My heart was clear and very, very happy.